Hey guys, this is Tina and welcome to my channel. Today I want to keep with a theme that I started last week and talk about some additional tools and methods that I use to stay organized. I was prompted to do this video because a girlfriend of mine was recently promoted into a manager role, and she approached me asking about, how do I keep it all straight? How do I keep information that's pertinent to specific people or products organized in my mind so that I can get the most out of every interaction when I circle back with folks. And I told her what the system I have in place is. And the more I spoke to her, the more excited I got about it because it turns out I love this stuff. And so I thought this would be a great video to share with all of you. So, really quickly, again, it's Tina, and welcome to my channel where I ask you to picture what financial freedom looks like to you, and we talk about ways to get there. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. I do explore personal finance a lot. I love Dave Ramsey, and so you'll see a lot of videos pertaining to Dave on this channel. But I also really appreciate organization, time management, productivity, and some of the psychological aspects of that so that you can kind of learn how to life hack yourself. And therefore, you'll find that content on this channel as well. If you're returning, thank you so much for your support. Please be sure to like, share, and comment and let me know what topics you want to hear about, or if you think I'm doing a good job, or heck, for that matter, if you think I'm doing a not so good job, let me know that too so that I can improve. Okay, so my girlfriend reached out to me and she asked me, how do I keep it all straight? And I said, there's really two tools that I use every day that are handwritten tools for me. The reason I do this in writing, although I do use like my calendar, my email calendar, as a method to kind of like create tickler reminders for myself. The main way that I remember things is to take notes on it. And the reason for that is there's something about like that tactile experience of writing it down that just helps me retain it. It's kind of like when they say, and they're teaching you to be a speaker, they will say things like, you should always have a visual aid. If you can incorporate another sort of sense into the perception of the message that you're delivering, whether it be something visual, like to exaggerate the visual, or if it could be music or even a smell, that will help you to retain your audience, to retain the message that you're giving. And so for me, when I'm speaking with somebody and I'm realizing I need to do a follow-up activity, to not just have that conversation and to say to them, I'll circle back with you on that, to write it down as well, really solidifies that for me. So a lot of times I can remember things even without having written it down, but the busier my life got, the less I guess that was true, right? So that was really true for me for a long time. And then things got so much more complex that I had to create this like list system or this note-taking system. So the first thing I'm going to share with you is bullet journaling. If you are not familiar with bullet journaling, you really ought to do a little bit of research on it. There's a whole slew of videos on this, and I'll be honest, some of these people's bullet journals are so beautiful. You can tell they're very artistic and very talented. That is not me. I do not do that at all. My bullet journaling is strictly for functionality and for keeping up with it all. I wish I could be beautiful in terms of like you and all the washi tape and the really pretty drawings, but I simply don't have the talent for that. So while I tried to play with it a little bit, in the end, it was kind of pathetic. So I moved on and stuck to what I really needed it for. So the first thing I'll kind of show you is the key that I use. I'm going to just throw a disclaimer out here right now that I am going to share with you bullet journals that I use for personal life and for work. And then also my life planner is where I kind of like unify the two. So with my bullet journals, I keep two of them. I keep one that is strictly for work, and then I keep a separate one that is my personal one that I use for capturing ideas for YouTube or any side hustles I might have. It's my prayer journal. It's where if I'm doing any kind of like personal or self-development, I'll make notes in there. It's also where I've mentioned in the past, I love watching educational YouTube videos. If I'm on a great series that somebody's produced, or if I'm listening to a longer sermon like Jordan Peterson's, I will make notes in that journal as well. So the one I'm about to show you is a work one. So I'm only going to show this one to show the key. And this is what the key looks like. So the index is on, I guess, this side. And this isn't really pertinent to the conversation we're having right now. But this side where I have the key, you can see that I have open tasks will always be a square. A note is just going to be a dotted note. An idea will be an upside down triangle. Something important will be a 6-line star. If something's completed, it gets a check mark that would go inside of the square. If it's migrated, it would be an arrow that goes inside of the square. If it's canceled, it'll be an X. If it's something that I just love and inspiring, maybe it's a quote or something that I adore, I will put a little heart beside it because it's cute. And if it's a deadline where I need to remember that it's coming up, I will put a little clock beside it. And then lastly, if it's something special, usually this is where something comes up that's, like maybe it's an anniversary, a work anniversary that I want to just call out in my notes a little bit, I'll put a star beside it. So that's the key I use. That's the only thing out of this journal I want to show you. I have memorized the key at this point, so I don't put the key at the start of my journals any longer. Whatever key you decide to use, just until you have it memorized, you might want to just create that at the beginning of the journal. So next, what I want to show you is my personal one. In my personal bullet journal, I've got a few things I want to show you to kind of identify how I use it. The first thing that's probably the most important is the index. This is a different bullet journal than the one that I just showed you. The one that I just showed you is a Scribbles That Matter Pro, and this one is a Leuchtturm. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. I'm German and I still don't know how to say this. I think it's pronounced Leuchtturm. I have used both the Leuchtturms and the Scribbles That Matter. I prefer this one because I like the feel of the page a little bit better. But these are the two that I stick with. If I ever couldn't get another Leuchtturm, I'd probably go back to the Scribbles That Matter because the pages are numbered at the bottom, and that's valuable for the index. So when I'm doing an index, I will capture the main topics that are being addressed in a series of pages, and I'll capture the page notes. One of these journals will typically last me about 8 months to a year. It just depends on how sloppy I get with my note taking. If I'm like in a frazzled way and I'm just like, I gotta get this down, and I just don't pay attention, number one, it drives me nuts when I go back and look at those notes because I hate a sloppy bullet journal, but it happens on occasion. So that'll typically eat up a lot of pages. Or I might want to do something where visually it takes up a larger amount of pages and it's a larger spread. So for example, I did the What Color is Your Parachute book. It's a great book. I'll link that in the description as well. It's a fascinating book for if you are looking to understand the job market and what it might take to find a new employment. And he's got activities that produce this sort of like flower that give you information or help you to track information about what it is that you really want, what your skills really are, and sort of how to become self-aware enough to sell yourself in a job interview or even to know what job you really want to look for. So I will use my personal journal to capture information like that. And I try to make it look, nice. I don't want to be too sloppy with it. And then like another example that I'll keep in here is this is my video schedule for Q4 of this year. So I told you guys I'm getting serious about YouTube. Here's my proof. I have 3 months worth of videos planned out. Also in here, like I mentioned, I keep a prayer journal. And I will take notes. So I signed up for a class called Analyze Your Analytics that's offered by Marriage and Motherhood. I have my notes for that listed here. And all of this stuff will be easily found for me by going back to my index. So this is how I use my personal one. And frankly, I use my work one in a really similar way, except for with work, I like to keep tabs of monthly goals. Or I guess month over month activities that I need to keep tabs of. So it's not so much a monthly goal as it is an activity that will occur. I might be able to complete it this month, but there's a good chance I'm not going to be able to complete it this month. And so I'm going to show you what that looks like, but I'm not really going to show you because I don't want to, accidentally share something that is specific to work and should have been left confidential. So in this one, I've got some personal goals on this side, but you can see that what I do is I create a long list for the month of September. And you can see in the row of boxes that I've migrated a boatload of those to October. There's a couple that got canceled and there's a few that were completed. So what might that look like? Well, what's going to happen next is that's my long list tasks. Then in the section of pages until I get to the October long list, all of this is going to be notes that I've taken that are in bullet form. So there's no long dictation. It's literally just enough content for you to be able to trigger the memory of what needs to be done and what was discussed. So only high level. You shouldn't be taking notes while the meeting's going on. You should stop when the meeting's done and give yourself a moment to decompress and jot down the bullets, the high important, most noteworthy elements of what the conversation included. So then what I'll do is when September ended, I would go to October. I created the same sort of like long row of boxes. I migrated anything that wasn't completed in September to October. And then I also went through those pages in the in-between, found any action items that didn't subsequently get completed through my daily to-do lists and added them to the October long list. Sorry, it's covered up. I really tried to find a month where I had nothing like proprietary or confidential in there, and I just couldn't find one. And then what I also do on the other side is sometimes this page becomes different things. In September, it was a list of personal goals because it was the month I decided to kick off YouTube again. But on this one, I decided to focus on recognition as we're nearing the end of the year. And so I've listed under this tab people that I want to make sure that I do a formal recognition for by the end of the month. And then I made sure that I had scheduled all of my skip levels for the next 3 months. So under this tab, you would have seen like a list of all the people who report up through me, along with month 1, month 2, or month 3, whichever month they fit into in the quarter. And then the check mark indicates that I've got it scheduled and they accepted the meeting invitation. And then that's probably all I can show you out of that one. So that's what I do on, to understand or track my monthly tasks, things that carry over month. But then additionally to that, I keep a life planner, and I love the Erin Condren Planner. I've tried a few different ones. I've tried one by Bloom. I've tried some generic ones I've just grabbed at Walmart, and I'll be honest, I just come back to the Erin Condren one. This is probably my 4th or 5th year buying one. They're kind of spendy at $55, but simultaneously they last a whole year. So $55 over the course of a year to me is, it's not outrageous. So that being said, again, I use my Erin Condren. This is whereas opposed to my bullet journals, I have one for personal and one for work. When it comes to my life planner, this is where I commingle it. This is where it's done together because it's my life planner and my life includes both work and personal. So again, it's not pretty. It's meant to be functional. At the beginning of the year, I always try to make it look nice. And by the end of the year, it looks like, like a person who had too much to do and not enough time to do it. And this was a way of grappling with that. So I went through and I found a couple of weeks where it looked like I didn't have any confidential information. I might have whited out a few things here just to make sure that I'm respecting people's names. But this was a week in April where you can see kind of what it looks like by the end of the week. This was a light week for me because I did end up taking PTO. It was right before Easter. And I also had some time off for a field trip. And then also my son was getting screened for kindergarten. So I took a half day to make sure that got accomplished. Typically what I do is I keep some items here in this sort of like off the side note area that maybe I'm not sure where they need to fit, or I just need to keep it in the back of my mind. And then on any given day, so on the 15th, for example, sorry, I'm doing it from the camera. For the 15th, I would list my 3 to 6 top priorities for that day. And that is a combination of work activity and home activity. So some days it might be like, go to the dentist appointment is top priority number one because it's scheduled and I want to make sure I make it on time. But it might also be mixed in with like follow up with, person X, Y, and Z for whatever work activities that I have going on. And then on the next page, you kind of get, again, another view of what that looks like. The color coding of the pens has nothing to do, that has no special meaning. I just really love the Pilot G2 pens. As a matter of fact, I'm going to link that below for you too, because I think this is the best pen around. It looks like this. It's the Pilot G2 gel pen. I think it's the 0.7 point. I have like a multitude of colors. I love them. They write better than any other pen in my opinion, and so I will absolutely link that below for you. So when it comes to the Erin Condren Planner, that's really how I manage my day to day. And like I said, I do include both notes for personal and for work-related items in here. So for example, if my child has a basketball game on a Saturday, you'll see that in here. If I have a field trip in here, that'll be in here. If I have a coaching session, here's a great example too with this one. This was during the time when I was still going through the Dave Ramsey coaching program. And so down below, I had listed what I expected to accomplish on that day. I planned these items out at maybe a few days or a week in advance, but I made sure that I was progressing through the lessons, and I was tracking that in here too, because that's a longer term objective that needs to be accounted for in my day. So the last thing I'm going to call out is just to show you, and I think I'll do a full separate video on this, although I'm not entirely sure just yet what it'll look like, but I did receive my 2020 journal, and sorry, not journal, life planner. And I'm really excited about this one. She's changed it up a little bit. So it used to be that if you opened it up, you would go straight to your monthly spread. You can see how I tried to make it like a bit pretty and a bit, colorful when I first start the year. By the end of the year, it won't look like this. It'll just be like what you saw before. But what she added now is that before that comes, there's a monthly planning section. And I'm excited about that because there's a book I've been exploring called The 12-Week Year, and it's all about, restructuring or reconsidering how you approach your annual planning, which, again, I told you guys, I'm a nerd for this stuff. I'm really excited about it. I hope you are too. Okay, so I mentioned the Leuchtturm, I mentioned the Scribbles That Matter, I mentioned the Erin Condren Planner, and then I also mentioned the pens. The other thing that I use pretty much every day because of shifting priorities is Whiteout. I'll link that for you below too. I really like this one, easy to use. That being said, I would be curious to know what questions you might have about it. I mean, just to summarize it really quickly, I keep the different journals, but the main thing to remember is that I keep the monthly long lists that get refreshed every month. I keep the daily list of top actions or priorities, which is always a list of 3 to 6 items. I try to keep 6 items on there, but frankly, it's not uncommon for me to migrate from, Monday to Tuesday, whatever doesn't get finished on Monday. Every now and again, I blow my socks off and I get all of my Monday list done, and I might have even structured a few things for like Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and I'll start tackling those right away. And then as the week progresses, re-identify what, new priorities could be given that those tasks are done, or identify new priorities just because as the week progresses, there's always fire drills, there's always unexpected things that pop up, and there's always things that you have to pivot for, and they have just become the new priority. So there you have it. That's how I manage it, and I hope this was helpful to you. as I always say, please like and comment. Let me know if it's useful to you. I would love to hear of any tools that you use as well, because I'm really not kidding when I say that I love this stuff and I eat it up, and I'm always looking for ways to improve. So thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.